You're listening to Confidence with Katie, a podcast created for ambitious, savvy women who are ready to embrace their inner badass. If you're ready to figure out exactly what you want and how to get there, I want you to jump on in and join me, executive coach, fire starter, and your podcast host, Katie Langford. Hello, everyone. Happy day. I'm Katie, and we are so glad that you are here for Confidence with Katie, episode number 6, 5 life lessons I learned from my Gran. Today, I want to go slightly off script to talk about someone who has inspired me my entire life and really is one of the women who made me who I am. She's also my badass inspiration of the week. That's right. My grandma is a total badass, as are all grandmothers who have helped shape the lives of their children and grandchildren. For all of you listening, if you can, go visit or call your grandmother. I know that she would love nothing more than to hear from you. So I've been thinking about my Gran a lot this week, and I realized that many of the lessons that have helped me most in my life and my career have come directly from her. So today I want to share what 5 of those lessons are, and I want to share some stories about my Gran too. You know, every single one of us learns lessons from our families of origin. Many of these lessons become the foundation of our entire lives. And the lessons that my grandmother, whom I affectionately call Gran, taught me, whether consciously or subconsciously, continue to be some of the best life advice I've ever gotten. And let's be real, sometimes I'm not so great about taking her advice. But several weeks ago, Gran was rushed to the ER after thinking she had a stroke. Of course, along with my brother and my mother, I dropped all of my plans to go be at the hospital. Thank you to the clients who let me reschedule. I cannot even tell you how much I appreciate it. 10 years ago, I lost my grandfather, Pop. To this day, I still miss him almost every single day. In fact, there is a picture in my bathroom of me sitting on his lap when I was about 4 or 5, and I look at that picture all the time. He was one of my true champions in life. My mother was very young when she had me, so my grandparents were always present. Every single game I cheered at, dance recital, softball game, school event, they were there. In fact, so many of my friends thought of my grandparents like extra surrogate grandparents for them. You know, Gran and I have always had a special relationship. I am much more like my outspoken grandfather, Pop, who was loud and always met friends. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I bonded with my grandmother so much. After going home from the hospital a few weeks ago, I started crying in my car. You know, I really honestly was so scared to death that I was going to lose her. Besides my mom, she has been the one constant in my life. I started thinking about all of the wonderful things that I've learned from her. And after sitting down that evening with my journal, I knew that the life lessons she taught me were universal, and I believe that they could impact your life too. So, without further ado, here are my top 5 favorite life lessons from my Gran. Number 1, just keep going. I remember when I was in my late 20s and early 30s, and things were hard. I was still trying to figure out who I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted out of my career, although I had big dreams and goals. I was about 5-6 years into my marriage with Shane. And let's be real honest, these weren't super easy years. I would call her on the way home from work and I would ask her, how did you do it? How did you raise 2 babies, work full time, and be an incredible wife? Like, how does that even happen? Because at this point, I didn't even have babies and don't right now either. But I was working full time and I was trying to be the best wife that I possibly could. Without skipping a beat, she would say, you just do it. You just keep going. one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. It's funny. It seems so simple, but yet so many of us just want to throw in the towel and say, I quit. And yes, the irony is not lost on me that eventually that is exactly what I did. But even in those moments, after I walked away from my career, when I had no freaking idea what I was going to do, Gran was still there to say, just do it. Just keep going. One day at a time, one foot in front of the other. Life lesson number 2 from Gran. He'll get glad again. If there was one thing to know about my pop, it was that he had a short fuse, and it was easy for him to get off kilter and get upset. I was always worried when I was a kid, and I thought that I just needed to fix it. She would always look at me and say, he'll get glad again. 2 things that I take from this. 1, you have 0 control over someone else's emotions, and they shouldn't have any control over yours. 2, the pendulum always swings back. Within time, usually not long at all, my pop would settle back down and be the happy pop that I knew him to be. What's funny about Gran is she never worried. She never was concerned. She always knew that it would go back to being right in the world. Life lesson number 3. You don't have to tell everyone everything you know, Catherine. For those of you who don't know, my formal name is Catherine, but I've been called Katie since the second that I was born. So in case any of you were also wondering if I made up the incredible, unique spelling of my name, I did not. I have my mother to thank for that. But Gran used to always tell me, you don't have to tell everyone everything you know. I'm a talker. I always have been. Gran isn't. She keeps things really close to the vest. And let's be honest, I don't. I started a podcast for goodness sakes, and I tell people something all the time. Let's just say that my mouth has gotten me into trouble many, many times. I still haven't learned this lesson, and sometimes I out and out ignore the lesson. But I'm beginning to learn at 38, and mind you, she probably started telling me this when I was 5, that I don't have to tell everyone everything I know. Life lesson number 3, listen. Gran is an amazing listener, which in our family is good because except for my little brother, we're all talkers. You don't want to be around for Thanksgiving or Christmas because we basically just talk all over each other. What Gran taught me is that sometimes it's better to sit back and listen. Don't rush to speak. What I love is that she knows how to listen. She knows how to make you feel like you're the most important person in the room. And she knows how to ask thoughtful questions. Oftentimes, I think we have to remember we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and yet so many of us spend twice as much talking and half as much time listening. Life lesson number 5. This is last, but it certainly is not least. Eat the ice cream. That's right. Eat the ice cream. Wear the pretty jewelry. Dance in the car. Laugh and have fun. You know, most people who know my Gran think she's pretty serious, but I know her as someone I've always had fun with. She always has on her pretty jewelry. Always. In fact, the rehab facility that she's in right now, just last week, she had my little brother bring her pearls because obviously she will need to wear them. When we were kids, we would go on road trips with my grandparents, and Gran constantly danced in the car. She was always beating to the beat of the drum, and she laughed. She had fun. When I was sitting with her at dinner in the hospital a few weeks ago, her dinner came, and it had mixed berries, a salad, salmon, mashed potatoes, and ice cream. I looked at her as if I was the adult and she was the child, and I told her that she couldn't have the ice cream until she ate her dinner. Without skipping a beat, she looked at me and said, "Nope, I'm the boss and I'm going to eat the ice cream." And she did, every last bite. Life is already serious enough, so enjoy it. I know that my Gran always has. These are just 5 of the life lessons from my grandmother that I try to live out every single day. To review them, I want to talk about how you can apply them in your own life. I want you to answer at least one of these following questions and then get yourself into action. As you know by now, in episode 6, we don't do anything at Confidence with Katie without action. It's great to listen to a podcast, but unless it propels you into getting moving where you want to go, it might just be entertainment. So, number 1, where do I need to just keep going? Where do I need to put one foot in front of the other and move? Number 2, where in your life do you need to remind yourself that you cannot control other people's emotions? Where do you need to remind yourself that others don't have control over your emotions? Or where do you just need to remind yourself that the pendulum will swing back? Number 3, when do you need to keep things a bit closer to the vest? How can you keep your words from getting you into trouble? Number 4, in an upcoming conversation, how can you make the other person feel heard, like they are the most important person in the room? When do you need to start listening twice as much as you're talking? Number 5, how can you enjoy life more? Really think about it. Where can you insert more fun? Where and when can you eat the ice cream? I want to dedicate this episode to my amazing Gran. She is one of my most favorite people on earth. And just a friendly reminder for you, if you can, call your grandmother or your aunt or your mom or your sister or some other amazing woman who has taught you valuable life lessons. I know that they will enjoy hearing it. Thanks for listening to Confidence with Katie. I hope the episode helped you feel more empowered to take control of your dream life and dream career. Start igniting those fires, sister, and embrace your inner badass. Until next time, badasses.